our words must count. Hunger will not wait for promises we made.